In 2017 and 18, seekers from all over the globe gathered at Kanha Shantivanam, the world's largest heartfulness center near Hyderabad in India. They came together to intensify their practice of meditation and also deepen their understanding of 10 guidelines for daily living that form an integral part of the Heartfulness movement. These 10 maxims were written in the 1940s by the great spiritual scientist Chandra of Shahjahanpur, affectionately referred to as Babuji. They were the result of Babuji's lifelong spiritual practice, observation of the vibratory patterns of nature, and direct experience under the tutelage of his guide, Daaji Maharaj. Babuji offered a simple method called Sahaj Marg, or the natural path, as a means for spiritual evolution. A heart-based meditation practice assisted by yogic transmission. The sessions at Kanha Shantivanam were conducted by Kamlesh T. Patel, or Daaji, global guide of the Heartfulness movement. If you are feeling wronged by anyone, do not wish for revenge. Instead, think this comes from God and be grateful. All of us go through difficult times at some point in our lives. Sometimes we feel particularly aggrieved by the actions of others. We tend to harbor feelings of dislike for such people, and in extreme cases, we may even wish them harm. If this feeling is allowed to persist, our heart begins to feel a heaviness at the mere thought of them. Our minds are taken over by the idea of revenge.
Think of that moment when you first thought of taking a revenge against someone. You are stressed out at that moment. You see nothing else but that person's face, and you feel like destroying that person by hook or crook. If you go to a scientist and ask them to measure your cortisol level, all stressors, neurological stressors. If you measure them, things like cortisol, things like adrenaline, how they shoot up in your system, your BP goes up, your anxiety level increases, so many things. At the cost of which the other neurological transmitters come down, because of which you lose sleep. A simple act or a response of becoming revengeful increases stress level, makes you lose sleep. Your quality of sleep will get spoiled so much, and your health will be affected. See. More than anything else, you are punishing yourself, not the other person. There is a quote from a great philosopher from China, Confucius. He said, "Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves, Another wise advice from another great philosopher. I don't know who he was, but he said, forestall or delay the vengeance until wisdom can reassert itself. Delay the act of revenge until the wisdom takes over. Person seeking revenge tends to become the one whom he is wanting to destroy.
All religions unanimously agree that whatever happens in our lives is the result of our own actions. Nobody ever suffers in contravention of this principle. When such is the case, we are naturally led to the conclusion that it is really the fate that we have ourselves built up. Everything that we do or think creates an impression that is like a coating on the pure divine nature within us. These impressions are referred to as samskaras. Over time, the number of samskaras we accumulate forms an intricate network that dims the luster of divinity within. Nature is always eager to return to its original pristine state and wants to get rid of the coils of impressions by working them through and divesting them of their heaviness. The process of working through samskaras entails enduring their effects. It is known as bhog or bhogam. Some amount of bhogam takes place internally. However, if the internal circumstances are not sufficient for the purpose, external help is needed. External help comes in the form of suffering caused by the wrongs done by others. This is part of the process of working through the accumulated impressions. However, we mistakenly harbor revengeful feelings towards the people involved in this situation, when in truth they actually help in the process of purification. When this is the case, the work done through an external agency has really rendered the function of a true friend.
When nature reacts and punishes someone, nobody calls this as a revengeful act of nature. Nature has no mind. But when a man takes the matter in his own hands and wants to react, then it becomes a revengeful act because his heart and mind is combined in this particular action. So it becomes revengeful. I'm reminded of one little advice by Lalaji Sahab. He says, when you do give money to someone, if you have, give it with a mind, preparedness in the mind that it will never be returned. Be prepared for it. It's a great advice. Because if you remember that you have given, it doesn't come back, you will form a tremendous impression in your heart. Such and such a person did not return the money, he is not my friend. He is not my relative. I like to stop my relation with him. Your heart becomes bitter. You were generous in the beginning, but later on, it becomes very bitter. So Lalaji said, forget about it. It's given. When you give only as much. If it is not returned back, you should not be hurt. So give only that much. Do yourself a favor. Otherwise, I'm thinking of the worst possible scenario. You'll have to take a rebirth to receive that money. And who knows, that fellow may have regretted and prayed to God and is liberated. And you keep waiting for, where is my money? But he's gone.
When we deal with people, our reaction to a situation is affected by the person we are interacting with. For example, if we generally react badly to being accused of something, we will still attempt to modify or cloak our reactions according to the circumstances.
Two scenarios can arise. Let's say if the person who is accusing is very strong, he's your boss in the company. Would you take a revenge? Or you wait quietly, I'll do something one day. That is a hidden agenda, long-term agenda. It's like you are keeping that poison in your heart for a very, very long time, and when that boss becomes slightly weaker, you raise your hood and bite him, see? Or if the person is weak, at that time, moment he accuses, before even he finishes his sentence, you want to finish him off because he is weak. So there are two scenarios. I like you to ponder over the third scenario of pausing, waiting, and forgetting the whole thing. See? And learn lesson out of it. Not only you learn the lesson, but see if the situation can also arise, so that the other person can also learn something out of it, and you become friends. That will be a noble outcome of a situation. See? You become greater friends in the process.
There is a method to modifying our response to a situation. There is a series of mental steps that we can go through. With practice, we can observe the working of our own mind and prevent it from getting carried away at the spur of the moment.
Letting go of things. Let go. Let go of desires, of getting even. Revengeful act is nothing but you want to get even with somebody. Tit for tat. But when you start understanding of letting it go, it's the beginning of wisdom. Okay, no, I will not do this. It's okay, that person has does this. But to settle down with a peaceful heart and resolve that I forgive that person. I have a bigger heart. And when we do this, we let go and free up our heart. Be thankful to God for all that. Suddenly you will see so much of peace. Suddenly you will see the grace descending from heavens. As a result, you will feel expansion in your consciousness. Greater wisdom will engulf us at that time. Suddenly you feel as if you have understood something great in life. So we have to, before we breed this thought of taking revenge, pause a little. Do you have the heart to let go and forgive? Have you counted the cost of revenge, the price you'll have to pay? Not in terms of money, but in terms of samskaras, the burden of samskaras that we reap. In taking revenge, we are always focusing on other rather than on ourselves. For a person of conscience, for a person who is God-oriented, becomes aware of every little action. Why must I react? Why must I be revengeful? Instead, he would think how to resolve so that he himself can grow further. He can cement the relationship, foster the good relationship for the sake of God. Act of vengeance or revenge will never allow the peaceful closure to settle. So, what is the point? Or are we fooling ourselves to take revenge in the name of justice? Let us look at others with a sympathetic heart. Maybe there is a justification for their action on myself. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe I deserve this punishment. So let us pray, may God forgive me.
It is not just negative feelings that contribute to the network of complexities. All our responses have their own part to play.
All of us, I think, without an exception, have gone through this complex nature of our heart and mind. We restrict our understanding to this negative aspect of negative reaction coming out of the actions done by others or by nature. When something good is done, we react in a positive way. Can love that we receive and we respond with love, is it a revenge? Though its response is similar in nature. When someone does bad to us, we react similarly, perhaps with a greater force. This is called revenge, but love in response is not called a revenge. I took a revenge because she loved me. I love her so much. But this is considered differently. Such responses are also no less a contributor in forming the veils and complexities than revengeful intentions that we create or harbor in our hearts. Any sort of response, be it in a positive way or be it in a negative way, it is bound to create complexities in our heart. It is not just the revengeful act or intention that I am going to perpetrate. Our business is how to prevent the formation of samskars. Sahaj Marg teaches us how to create a condition in the heart so that every response, be of love or of revenge, fails to create the seeds of samskars. We are not only focusing on revenge, we are focusing on every sort of responses that emanates from our heart. We have a very long way to go. If I have to depart from the source with X potency and return back to the source same way as I was ejected the very first moment with X potency, then what is the use of the whole game of creation and returning back? It serves no purpose. You go out and come back. Everything returns back to the source. If we return back with the same potency, then the purpose of creation has failed. We must return back with a greater potency. We must exponentially expand in our purity and intensity, if that is possible. Then God would say, wow, someone has returned big with a greater wealth.
In our lives, we all go through a wide range of experiences and situations. How we respond to these determines whether divinity is able to shine through us, or if it remains veiled and hidden. If we keep adding to our individual network, then the luster is dimmed. But if we remain centered and keep our eyes solely on the goal, we have the opportunity to work off the complexities and intensify the reality within, thus becoming lighter and purer. You are invited to meditate on the Maxim to reach a personal understanding of it. Internalize the words so that hidden facets and nuances of meaning may unfold within. Practice it so that its efficacy can be genuinely witnessed.